Hello, Connecticut, New York, nations, Vermont. There are people that were are associated with state police, interstates, fire departments, interstates. Originally, still, this is an organized crime method recorded that is vertical and horizontal, using database relationships and using the identity of positive itself, which is also the identity and the identity of relationship to itself that has positive and negative relationship to every identity of value. Now, this is also Romulus and Remus decipher of the cipher. Romulus and Remus are two of five connected elements because yin yang are inseparable. What appears to be the difference is only alpha nature's difference, which is only a semi-nature of our value as nature, our nature's nature and complete nature of relationship to itself, which is as temporary positive, as temporary slash lasting, net positive or negative further. That's why there's a difference between logic of an as criminal insidious nature and how it makes positive out of negative, and logic without criminal insidious nature. So this made modern nations forced to share policing, grouped hundreds of nations in relationship to negatives like war, like threats that don't no one's even to speak about because of the real cause to, and then all juxtaposed other motivations, but for the concentrated value of the elements for biological terrorism, for standing threats that keep off the record things that you keep them off the record. Now you're keeping off the record a whole nature of things and means to use to keep the states near as criminally foreign influence to originally instill. And not only that, but this propagated all roles to methods, natures, and styles of fact treating nature quality, again, as criminal insidious nature. I'm not a lawyer. This is recorded as a crime involved with crime methods bonded as one also that lawyers are all types of the law for money's value nature system and all alternatives like pro bono and stuff like that. It's too much for someone to do free, not by accident. We have maintained racketeering roles with what brought us into World War One, World War Two, and every World War since. In other words, they still have recorded overt and insidious maintenance to the simultaneous theft of our founders, our American history's true value, like it's sequenced too, and interlibrary positions. What maintains this, and maintained it, for example, are how agencies, their family members, the branches, their family members, all campuses like medical campuses, fire campuses, shared policing of this, shared streams of relationships to the off campuses originally instilled, where we have all roles as fake sides of Trinity's correlation nature, fake middles and physical delusions in relationship to other motivations. And so this is progressing as pseudo positive because in relationship to where we have the extent of peace we have, just like our founders, the extent of positive they could defend the identity of in other words, with unities. States and areas were already involved roles with what was already entrenched since before our founders' births in layers, methodically propagated. You can't defend that and the surface values of the Constitution at the same time. And because that wasn't demonstrated, each age of fact human nature maintained was self-valued and further exploited with this off campuses, because it already did it from on and off campuses. It's already maintained every group, yeah, every down to the finite, every individual grouped and together, simultaneously sickly a victim, simultaneously sickly distinctly and non-distinctly, effectively having kept and keeping each modern nation, states, and areas and sciences on and off campuses and layers, now all in that still. All fake testing of people's integrity, stuff like vetting and stuff like that. A whole bunch of people associated with the Dillon family, involved with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic racketeering, also with a whole bunch of undercover people that's involved with them with effect, keeping nature racketeering, offensive evidence racketeering, with and as people studying the problems that take place with the shootings in Hartford and New Haven, for example, real and fake news. That is, they have statutes still recorded that they know that they can't defend that, and the sequence racketeering, the evidence fabrication racketeering, also just using databases, using crime methods and tricks of the campuses where you could just get the person there and just write whatever, because that's the standard. That's the standard of integrity, force defended, because if you admit it, hundreds of nations will exploit that. Whereas how the peace side is in relationship to sanctions and things like that too. And in relationship to litigation experts like former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, former standing chairperson on RICO law, which is Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act. See, but now this is way deeper than even war crimes. What I'm speaking about. This is and has maintained, recorded originally, and still the branches of government as individually grouped and together, really sicker than most criminal enterprises, or all of them. In other words, rolls with them by the same one, which is simply an identity of the ground's relationship to our quality of fact human nature. Each state and area maintained effectively self-valued roles with tactically denatured native nature's identity of relationship to the ground's actual value by our quality of fact human nature, actually value always, and with exceptions to the truth, and not denied or accepted or exploited, prevented free speech. This is the quality of free speech that reveals the means, the fruits and gifts of evolution. This is science, is voice. See, but I'm just an expert on English grammar, on correlation nature, which is expert on identity, which is an expert on the identity relationship it has to itself, which is the identity, which is expert on the value of that, which is again tied to the identity of America, criminally foreign influenced originally and still. This brought us into World War I, and it brought them into fighting us. Hundreds of nations already group sick identity of negative value nature progression roles, blaming the real causes of it on other things, others, on themselves. St. Nicholas was put in jail, for example. They're still recorded, confessed, and demonstrated using jails to hide the lie progressions of the branches of the military, of the Pentagon, of Washington, of everything originally and still. It's not, you don't have a right to opinion to pretend to be law. For example, when you have even like a theme with it, Jim Crow, Me Too. These are natures of criminal insidiousness nature that are already valued as victim predators, roles with, again, since before we were here, maintain, juxtaposed a whole bunch of motivations, natures, needs, interests, to hide the same finite sequence shifts, active and progressive lies. The whole bunch of people associated with locations on and off Fox Connecticut News, on and off the buildings next to them, involved with racketeering with each of the branches, individuals grouped together, recorded delusions wrought, criminally foreign influenced, how maintained racketeering roles with off campuses sustained, how recorded, how motivated, because no one's watching these fact-cheating nature racketeering that our American history is really about. The racketeering that won't let demonstrated the force sustained worse than child abuse and elderly abuse simultaneously, abuse of each age, sickly distinctly upon Hartford, Connecticut. They have the police recorded, retired and standing, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated consciously and not realizing, but also realizing their database is already involved with racketeering, sicker than it was real sick. Because what do? They take people's lives. Then you can't. Even if they put you there for 6 months, and an innocent person, say, in prison, and they were already writing fake things into databases. I'm not saying that each branch of government isn't a valued and blessed thing, but never was liberated. That's part of the slavery organized crime method against our founders. And that's a conversation that involves how they did it worse to some people. And that's a conversation about how they did it to conform everyone to pseudo-positive self-value. And that's about how they did it to control the algorithm's identity, which is math's identity, which is English's identity simultaneously. See how this is the law's identity simultaneously. See, we have sequence shift racketeering consciously in the mind of people that are pretending that there is integrity to each branch. The same way the overt criminal enterprises will defend their roles in that. These are victims of what is intercampuses vertical and horizontal racketeering. A whole bunch of names associated with CCSU were first kids affected to pretend they know me. And then this is racketeering, like exploiting any exception. They already did it criminally. They already did it for reasons other than they're pretending. Regarding how we have hundreds of nations here, if you admit and demonstrate, because this is also recorded how hundreds of nations maintain this off the ground of education, on off the ground, whole bunch of people with forensics low clicks through time. I just remind. So Italy too. You guys, your identity is simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly the victim of what makes and keeps the church increasing value, which is in relationship to the only realized. But and this is also realized because but none of you understand that. But the extent you do is only valuing it for a role, with everyone blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions, accidents, and other things other than themselves. So they have programs, they have you forced to be the identity of Italy, and have Italy forced to be by nature, because the subject of the Old Testament, the subject of Jesus Christ, distinctly and non-distinctly as the religion, as the Trinity, and as the Old Testament. And this is regarding sequence. See, they have debates about what that they locked in the New Testament, because there's a whole bunch of nations involved with a whole bunch of Italian families that are involved with a whole bunch of other nations involved with maintenance to criminally foreign influenced military, criminally foreign influenced Coast Guard, criminally foreign influenced people with CCSU, and with Trinity College from off the ground of education on off it in layers involved with horizontal and with vertical racketeering, roles with faking recorded things into the databases in conjunction with the maintenance to only let realized exploitation of each age of fact cheaping nature simultaneously. These are people involved with methods to the motivations of people blaming on other causes, other things themselves, really what leaves our elderly in a trap. And the people working against them, all victim predators with quality of fact cheaping nature, why they're in there, why they have those problems. And this is in relationship to how everyone's a victim, predator, blaming all the things other than yourself for the sequence shift roles racketeering, then behavior racketeering. Psychology is wrought with delusions and criminal roles, with the little pathology that they made to be the across the modern nations, the pathology of homes, since before cars, the styles of homes, a tactically denatured relationship to nature, not just because it's Native American, but their value more and more to see the one which forcing that only to be because it's everything is it. It's what's the difference between what's going to stay positive Earth's simultaneously distinct and non-distinct positive in relationship to our identity, or is going to force it away from here, leads to IDs. With the rest of space nature, Earth's difference has no criminal foreign influences. No. And note this came from semi-ancient times, since before the modern religions, not permitted free speech. Involved with this is racketeering intercampuses of each type and nature, because that's involved with facilitated connections between each age of fact cheaping nature, abuse where they're going to make people not speak about things, and they pretending it's because of relationship just because of how it's too expensive. In other words, we have a whole bunch of natures of private fact cheaping nature quality styles of liars, like associated with any campus entertaining teachers from off campuses, no influences, treatments of Jim Crow, everyone, even Barack Obama, because everyone's a victim that of this method that effectively recorded had people blame other things, others themselves, for what is horizontal, vertically, in other words, databases racketeering, even after the fact it can happen. So you get, in other words, they're attaching, we have mental experts, we have medical campuses that are involved with a whole bunch of torture and identity theft racketeering, mail crime rolls, wire crime rolls and methods, forging names and switching name methods, where are completely fact cheap in nature, where they prevent you free speech in the courts, where they're also faking things into recorded into databases, while they're simultaneously attaching each age of fact cheap in nature to fake locations through time in connected ways. And this is tied to value treatments. In other words, there are no peaceful value treatments. And this is worse than what was used to break everyone to rules, to sick things that no person would have set up. This is what they set up was an identity of relationship to the ground, all as the identity as value. So as other identities of jobs, others identities of reactions to the protraction of correlation nature's value increasing, while we have each age of fact cheap nature for self-valued her through what juxtaposed originally and still propagated what is the method that effectively keeps all identities of everything. So no, even the increasing value of the church and of Italy, they know it and they understand it really, but they have everyone defending physical. So now you think AB. Now you guys have roles with like we have natures of shared policing agreements, and we have a whole bunch of psychology and racketeering that is in conjunction with statutes, also recorded and influenced by sequence shift racketeering, and by preventing free speech and pretending they're only trying to counter because they don't want to get forced drugged. They're gonna have statutes here and there. All the nations involved with this. They're also lying. I have no criminal record at all. They're lying about me with the same people that tried to pretend me, but they're recorded right now in databases. We have a whole bunch of nations involved with racketeering, with on and off Fox Connecticut News, with the buildings next to them. They're all aware of it. They're all pretending that they couldn't believe how things would be in the databases then. They have fake doctors. They put people onto um, in fake locations. We have all kinds of racketeering. They attach little kids. WFSB pretended I was with mental diagnosis as a kid in whole fake news crime acts. They also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminal uses of the identity of the ground when they did that. That was already involved with more child sex offenders tied to one that forced that not told on, and what brought it up, which is a whole bunch of natures of racketeering and people associated with federal criminals and co-defendants of former director of the FBI involved with crimes with them, personally, criminally, in cases with evidence racketeering networks. That's what they're doing. And so they're sustaining this, like on areas where you have mass shootings and you have people stacking, that is unfathomable. That's the only reason that can be afforded by any individual group and altogether is because we don't have free speech. And when you try to have free speech, no one really cares. So we have offensively retired and standing into a whole bunch of police forms associated with the Scalora family and with the Demoro family. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with a whole bunch of people on and off with judges with them criminally, with the Kerr family criminally with them, also with uses of Facebook. There is a Joshua Julian further involved with racketeering, with overt criminal enterprises, with the Coast Guard, and with foreign and domestic military cliques. Cliques associated with racketeering, with forensics cliques through time. This is recorded, demonstrated. I never. This is recorded, demonstrated. They're also involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering associated with Facebook and with the old school ways they tried to record things in the past. Whole bunch of people tied to a school, a St. Anthony's Church. There's like a parking lot now. There's still a church there. Next to the building next to it, a whole bunch of people tied to a Dillon family with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic people and police forms, foreign and domestic and families and private criminal enterprises and overt criminal enterprises. And they're racketeering with former director of the FBI down with even uses of the witness protection criminally for their roles with child offenders, also with wire crimes and mail crimes used to stack names against people, used to stack a whole bunch of people. When I'm speaking in the background, you need to pretend things that in databases are real. And they never let me have free speech because of their recorded, actually, vertical and horizontal racketeering on and off campuses in sustained ways. And they exploit databases. There are kids that are going to do bad things, boys and girls, in relationship to this. This is not. This is women with racketeering roles facilitated judges. When you have police forms associated with racketeering, and then you have the lawyers forge and switch names, and those courts were already recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involve stacking fake recorded things and kids, the same kids, to databases when they were kids that are adults involved with the racketeering with the kids now. Sick roles with them, regardless if they're undercover, and it's a hard life. It's a cold world. That's why it's a cold world. That's how it's a cold world. All we need is free speech. See, but we don't have that because we don't have defense at the racketeering of this nature level that came from semi-ancient times. This just reminds, this is the algorithm's course identities. Yet no one sees. We pay to seize. It only feels like game one way alone. I'll win, but fight. Fact, treatment, right. See, we have mandated law prevented. And the racketeering with that is sustaining, juxtaposed for sustained aggressions and fake care juxtaposed. And then it's exploiting the fact treatment nature reactions to itself maintained. Identities of value in relationship to identity, top-down law, never liberated. We never had legal representation. Never. We have original and still deep, sick, first and stay. Racketeering roles, everyone. Criminally foreign influence. Criminally foreign influence for everyone. To put it in Oprah terms. Just kidding. Oprah. Impossible how a woman could be so strong. To come out of what no one came out of yet. No one came out of it. No individual, no group, and all together. And everyone's right there. Okay, just everyone's trying to react to what's exploiting the identity. They're blaming on. See, this is built. Everyone already self-valued roles with the theater itself, valuing the perfect world forsaken. That's valuing science, not letting free speech and instant means for evolution's fruits and gifts. Agreements. So they need unity as negative value nature originally and still maintained. I'll pretend to be against this, that. Then they have the identity of militaries recorded. They can't defend themselves in the racketeering that's involved with psychology, which is involved with worse than negotiated with terrorism. That is associated with the ones with the badge top down. They have all kinds of racketeering involved with this originally and still, because then what are the branches individually grouped and together? Organized crime predators. Uses of all private tied to them, like the prisons. St. Nicholas was put in prison by these rat mobs at the same time with the overt criminal enterprises, with the private ones. Identity theft, sequence racketeering with the other interbranch, hiding their life progressions because they're playing roles where they need to perceive things, perceived to be recording things, because they're already preventing mandated law. These are fake sides. These are a whole bunch of racketeering with a little design they put of Hartford, Connecticut, from the Morrow's Market in Rocky Hill all the way along spots on Weathersfield Avenue, on and off the Weathersfield police location, on and off where they used to be, next to the South Dean Middle School. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a private school tied to it, involved with database racketeering. That's also with the foreign and domestic military, maintained involved racketeering roles, with racketeering that is where everyone's acting and pretending to have things perceived so they can put things into databases they can pretend to believe in the background. They know this is true in the background, and you can see this because these are also what led up to their motivations recorded actually for the roles with Justice Department, Washington D.C. Pentagon racketeering, and with other nations, intercampuses, and then in the Trade Center attack context. They have two Mendes police also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles intercampuses and roles having attached me to fake locations when I was a kid. These are people involved with all various natures of racketeering, wire crime roles facilitated, and then they bring people into those like AT&T. And then they have to defend the identity of AT&T, and everyone's already been identity theft racketeering roles, like with the Spotty family and with a Walters family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved crimes with overt racketeering groups and with the families of various natures of courts and of all positions associated with them, even prosecutors, even the state's attorney's offices, all their databases. This is databases tied since before computers. They were involved with this racketeering vertically and horizontally. The same ones that are minority associated with the exploitation of Hartford from Wethersfield are a whole bunch of names, offensively preventing the racketeering method that American history is really about, consciously not let demonstrated, not let told. We have the identities of everything criminally foreign influenced. So we have a whole bunch of people start associated with the Department of Transportation, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the state police, involved with the racketeering with evidence, with reality, with everything of value real. Foreign and domestic families maintaining this outcome, especially because this DeMauro family and the ones next to him, like the Kerr family, and I don't know, he's got other neighbors. He said confessed, recorded, demonstrated, involved with it, and up the street from him, a Schedule family. Now these are people also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of natures of abuse of elderly and of children associated with people facilitated through it on and off Middletown locations, like in locations on water. So now we have identities of people that we get to defend this water, so we feel like we have a criminally foreign influence identity of relationship to ground originally, still since before everyone was born. We have Russians involved with this, directly and indirectly, using the identity of there and here. Russia's involved with psychology, racketeering that is interbranch, the same way our branches are maintained criminally foreign influence, pretending other. Former director of the FBI down, a whole bunch of people on Farmington Avenue recorded and confessed and demonstrated racketeering with them, with the news media, a Faenza family, a whole bunch of people on and off WFSB's location recorded, confessed, demonstrated involved with them racketeering with people with databases, people involved with database racketeering. It's one thing to say to say, and really even if they think they were influencing to people to interact with me, like the Violet brothers, recorded, confessed, also involved with the people on and off WFSB and locations next to them. The apartment building next to them, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with police forms, offensive evidence racketeering, pretending things recorded into databases, offensive criminal evidence reception, uses of what they hear. They're even criminal uses on a mass scale of the word privacy, because now they have you countering what you as a tool to further the racketeering uses of what they hear real, because these are people involved with vertical and horizontal racketeering with databases, with evidences, with the quality really of every fact treatment, every sequence treatment before courts. They're already stuck. Stupid to quote one of the people with a family member involved further with the racketeering with the police forms and with the military, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Army, their family members, foreign military, deans, their family members. It's all right if they want to have a fight or whatever like that. May say something. See, we don't have a platform. We have a platform where they force the branches grouped, especially the individually together, but they're preventing mandated law and pretending not to realize, and they're blaming the real cause of it on other things other than themselves. So in Italy, in church, understand, I'm saying I don't believe. I'm not saying I believe or disbelieve anything written. I'm saying there are real criminally influenced fake news, criminal uses of it also actually furthering those things that they're pretending to be about with undercover positions. Like they have people how to catch a predator. That show was involved with the database organized crime because these are real cities that these people work next to, where news is pretending things to hide line progressions, where we have originally and still criminally foreign influence branches, criminally foreign influence campuses, intercampuses. There are a whole bunch of people with schools that are private schools that are maintained, facilitated to criminal uses and roles with the vertical and horizontal, attaching people to fake locations. And sequentially, people I had nothing to do with in grammar school, like Joe DeMoro, though he's an exception though. And Tom Peruta, he's an exception though. Barely know them. I don't even know if Joe DeMoro was in my class all year or if that was just I don't know, but I know it was with the DeMoro family. I mean, with the O'Brien family and with the Cololo family associated with him, and with police forms on and off places at the end of the Berlin Turnpike. Recorded confessed with them also with the racketeering with the CCSU and with Trinity College from off the campuses, with Middlesex Community College from off the campuses, maintaining on and off their roles, like with Vermont also, police forms involved with this. Racketeering, a whole bunch of people, former director of the FBI down, state police forms, their family members, recorded how maintained roles with racketeering, especially with psychology, recorded delusions wrought originally and still. What do you think was behind the branch is sick like that? So they're preventing mandated law, and they're preventing this demonstrated from being demonstrated, actually recorded. The courts, because they're faking recorded things in the databases, they're confessed with this. This is also confessed, demonstrated, recorded, a whole bunch of different nations like Russia, like Italy, with the state police and with the military, foreign and domestic, involved with identity thefts, acting things, criminal uses and roles with Wesleyan College. I didn't even go there. Houses in that area. Every area. This is all connected. I think people. There's a Phil Cololo, that a Bob Chase, and there was a Christine. They didn't say her name, but WFSB confessed and recorded a Christine Tardet involved with racketeering with acts with them, with a whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court, also with judges involved with the racketeering, attaching little kids to fake locations. Their roles spreading lies with the same overt criminal enterprises through the same grammar schools through time. Now there are people, a whole bunch of people associated with the Cuddy family. So the former director of the FBI has criminal uses of people that went to my grammar school actually, and that were in my class. I know, so they put me in other people to fake locate sequence relationships too. A former Mayor Gold and his family is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering, with undercover police forms and state police forms, other police forms involved with and foreign and domestic medical families, and people interstates involved with the state forensics lab, and with this campus through time involved with all kinds of medical corruption. There also, you know, houses next to the schools with the private schools were facilitated to racketeering with the police forms pretending to be against what they're furthering for other motivations and roles with it, other than what they're pretending about how they have to share. We're training these kids this way, this kid, we're gonna have them interact there. And this age is the industry of this type of law. They have no law, free speech. Our American history is about correlation nature. See, we have this vertical and horizontal pretended things recorded criminally. So they can't even go back and talk about, because then it'll show. The second they show what they filmed, they're also recorded themselves pretending to film things offensively, because they were already involved with racketeering against each age of fact treatment nature simultaneously. These are not our means. We know that. We know that the zoning laws agreed to are incapable of the value treatments. We could afford way better by just admitting that. We have a tactically denatured relationship to nature that was valued because it knew what valued blaming it on other things others themselves. The real cause of negative value nature progression, acts nature, need live progression in there. Criminal diseases nature. We don't have liberation yet. We don't have a freedom. We don't have free speech yet. We don't have the right to be not tortured yet. We don't have the right to be not attached to fake words that weren't at all, forging names, switching names, faking whole detailed conversations with me, pretending I spoke about police forms, surveilling my father. This is a Leahy family with racketeering with a whole bunch of people, federal criminals with houses in my area, with racketeering roles with databases at each campus I went to, connected. Now, these are also racketeering roles with prosecutors and their family members. So when I say that, they hear it and know they have to hurt people and value their self-valued weapon, because these are prison family leaderships also involved, and their family members also involved with racketeering that's not legal per the shared roles with sustained, sick. Oh, we're undercover, but you don't really know we're not identity law. We have the right to lie. Yeah, but you don't have the right to further what recorded, confessed, and demonstrated a whole bunch of nations keep and kept programs like DACA, confessed and recorded, involved with identity theft racketeering and database racketeering, roles with drug crimes that are using that to maintain each age of fact treatment nature, exploited how left forsaken, everyone playing jobs is value. Can't defend it in the way you worse than can't defend American history, because not all jobs are valued. Not just because they don't pay enough, which is true too. So we have opinion natures that are offensively preventing free speech. And we have a minority, but it's a whole bunch of names. They're keeping everyone from realizing. Now, a whole bunch of people that are associated with a Kerr family in downtown Hartford, an officer, Jerry Miller, they're recorded, confessed, involved with racketeering, with identity thefts. And they use tactics like how they have shared, like Russians and Puerto Rico, Mexico, the people associated with Town Line Drive, with racketeering with the Pandolf family, foreign and domestic various nations, involve racketeering with them, with prosecutors, with Justice Department, Pentagon racketeering, leading up to and in the Trade Center attack crime roles. whole bunch of people with racketeering acts, roles with Central Connecticut State University. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering acts roles with a detective Samuda, who pretended he was an arresting officer of me. Forged names, switching names, a whole bunch of racketeering with East Hartford police forms, foreign and domestic, medical clicks. There's like programs associated with the various natures of courts of each age through time involved with racketeering with their patients and criminals before they go in there. They're with the policing of the internet involved with racketeering, with all that exploiting originally, and still you can't defend positive only in relationship to wars and other threats standing that are unfathomable because not by accident from the base tactically denatured. So they also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they had town meetings involved with racketeering, where they're preventing the identity of the ground from being demonstrated, from being defended. They have sequence shift racketeering. So then, if you want to fight, they're going to do it where everyone's not even speaking about truth. You know, styles of with physical delusions, intersciences. We have elections racketeering in Wethersfield. That's how they have this former Mayor Gold involved with new and past mayors, a whole bunch of names associated with the Dillon family, involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering with judges, with the other branches of government with them, with Hartford Hospital on and off locations racketeering with them, roles with criminal uses of untimely deaths. For the whole bunch of people with the Sean Dillon, Alan Dillon, Kevin Dillon, former director of the FBI down, are associated with criminal roles with a whole bunch of other police forms and overt criminal enterprises in my area. Houses of people used for racketeering were each age of campus I went to, with houses next to them involved with the racketeering because they're pretending to perceive things as they already did. So we have mandated law that's not being allowed followed. We have further Wethersfield Fire Department involved with the racketeering with names forging, switching, misspelling. Also with this officer, Jerry Miller, recorded and confessed and demonstrated involved with judges, with New Britain Superior Court, further involved with child offenders with the campuses, with the leaders of the kids associated with this. Also, Wethersfield police chiefs family is recorded, confessed in foreign and domestic, involved with the racketeering with the kids further, with my name, with them forging and switching names. 2 Mendez police and a Phil Clough and the rest of their roles with a police chief from years ago, with a house in my area, the same house, with has the other ones involved with it. There's a Leahy family that attached me a whole fake detailed conversations that weren't at all. No way he could have even, and they did that 3 times with other doctors then who I had still nothing to conversation with at all. And they just wanted me to sit there, say things, and pretend it's true. I confirm nothing they said. There are people associated with the Britain Superior Court also involved with this too, with the sequence shifts. They want to speak about those 3 times out of sequence because a whole bunch of people associated with this Dillon family, involved with my new and past neighbors, racketeering with untimely deaths, and with houses in my area with their drug clicks used for other natures of crimes, where their identity theft racketeering. I don't know the names of the people where the I forgot the name used to live behind the 2 women there. Also recorded, confessed, demonstrated used criminally by an O'Brien family that's been involved with racketeering, also with Sandy Hook, involved intercities with the on-off state of Connecticut judicial branch offices, houses right next to it, and house down the street right before the bridge, on the other side of the bridge, and across it, and Wethersfield Pizza right there too, involved with a whole bunch of names with CCSU racketeering with a whole bunch of police forms, former director of the FBI down, state police involved, their houses next to them down. A whole bunch of people associated with this Detective Dillon racketeering with houses in my area, other FBI, CIA, with people in other roles with that involved where they speak things that imply things that are tied to what they're needing to hold on to and pretend in databases that they can't pretend on paper, because if they pretend on paper, they're going to unfold, they're going to crack and fall. CT, not peach, the cherry tree, fake branches. Even if George Washington did or did not say that, which they say he said it. Even if he had to leave overt slavery with color. He had to leave us directed to defend the Constitution from sub rosa trick, fact, treatment, nature, racketeering. Uses of that. And so then uses of the identities of each branch, originally and still used for fact, treatment, nature, racketeering, as identities only allowed to not say anything about too many things. That were only allowed to hide the criminally foreign influence branches, to hide the means to it, which is grouped nations already had insights into every bit of distinction that there was here and there. So Italy, we have more people also involved with a whole bunch of nations maintaining criminal uses of the identity of each age from on-off campuses and layers. So please get me a response, because they're forging names and switching names. There are too many police that are forging names and switching names with Wethersfield Police. They're also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they mix with other police forms, with racketeering, and with the judges and with their police forms of their interbranch police form sheriffs, their family members. Then they get their mothers and stuff like that involved with offensive evidence racketeering. Now they're stuck. Then they get them invested into roles as the expert dealing with the media. How are you going to police this online platform? Oh, it's jobs value system. But in and as what you can't defend and tell our American history. We have instant means that are not let free speech, and all formal fakes. And how they were motivated to it is recorded. We're not being allowed to report this. They're preventing mandated law offensively. So they're valuing the offensive database, vertical and horizontal database racketeering and exploitations of that realized. Experts with each school, types of experts. You can't defend your job and yourself as a teacher, or you're going to be racketeering roles. And so it's nature, criminal and seditious nature. So valuing that positive, where you'll then be realized into relationship like public places where you have to have manners. You see, but then if you have manners in those public places, you're not going to be allowed to use what you can really discern. And then it's going to be too late, because then you're just going to go, oh, and then you're stuck. Because these are courts already knowing they have to hide their offensive racketeering acts, roles, and actually recorded natures. And already at the same time they were racketeering and grouped with the executive branch police forms, military, foreign and domestic. Their identity itself is a value. VA policing, people associated with then sometimes they're private on the Hartford Hospital's campus, the Institute of Living, involved with the VA racketeering. That is also involved with the racketeering method / as bonded that brought us into World War I, that brought France and Germany into it, blaming other things and others themselves, not by accident, to maintain them defending that. All victim reactions to what was maintained. Every modern nation, every position of fact treatment nature incapable of demonstrating what is simple to record, actual, not discerning it even though. Because first discerning how they have to hide lie progressions, how they have to hide their actually recorded natures as identity. Identity is nature. And the reason nature and identity are two different words is because identity of all things at once is bigger than all things at once, but while being them. And that's while being our complete identity. It is simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature relationship to what is the difference between positive or negative, as what is the difference between its nature of relationship to itself that humanity no longer is. This is nature's course. The more you make it environment and then defend that, you're defending criminal and seditious nature of positive. A theater that is to each position of theater, especially where we're hurt the most, like after people get murdered. These are murderous racketeering roles. These are not just tied to their roles with the predicate acts in the Trade Center, the people with the racketeering with the databases in Harvard, not just intercampuses, on off Fox Connecticut News. Now, see, that's why they're stealing our identities offensively. Like WFSB attached me to fake conversations. They lied about how and why they approached us because they were already involved with racketeering. A whole bunch of people associated with the Dillon family and with doctors and men and women, with them involved racketeering with child sex offenders and as medical offender roles with them, crime acts and methods with kids on and off campuses, because these branches, the prisons tied to them, on and off their offices, on and off the state prison offices, on and off the state judicial branch offices, were involved also with racketeering with two speech teachers I had and when I was a senior in high school 2 times. The reason I was 2 times is also recorded tied to racketeering with people that didn't go to my campus, but they were my same exact age group. And they were involved with racketeering with people in my school that I don't even know. I barely, even the ones I do know the names of, that I don't know at all, those are ones needing to pretend they know me. And their inclusion with people I barely know, I only know them from their roles with criminal uses of Millwoods Park, for example, with the people involved with the child sex offenders and with the fire departments involved criminally, because these are people also involved with the Gallucci family and involved with O'Brien family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they were involved with the Nielsen family, involved also with the people with Central Connecticut State University, whole bunch of people involved with racketeering, with identities of the law, training of them, sustained live progressions from the natures of racketeering involved that are pretending they're legal, but they're actually criminal, and they're offensively preventing mandated law by our roles with this valuing database racketeering tied to the people in the background pretending they don't realize that, and they're speaking anyway, but they were affected to roles with this through other motivations, nature's needs and interests. And that's in relationship to and as Central Connecticut State University's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context, with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic families that used downtown Hartford and Saudi families that they attached to fake words. And they're agreeing for me to write this, but I need the judges' names. In other words, because they're pretending things in the background, like they were caring about women's needs. They're caring about standing up for the woman in the background because they set up the women to hide their sequence shift racketeering. They made all these confessions that they don't want told. I shouldn't have to tell about through all the. In other words, They confessed to me and a whole bunch of girls that and how the CCSU and on and off the campus was used by a whole bunch of people from my town, Interbranch, associated with this Dillon family, associated with racketeering with people that are my age from my area that I never had anything to do with. The only context I know with where they're trying to pretend things tied to the extended family members with the identity thefts, with this Phil Cololo, with the Schedule family, with tied to the DeMoro Kerr associations with Wesleyan College and the place on the water there. The Phil Cololo was also recorded confessed involved with a whole bunch of doctors, foreign and domestic, involved with racketeering with their patients and with criminals. Various natures of courts, prison cliques associated with racketeering. Uses of where people are going to interact to hide their life progressions and roles with this nature and method of racketeering. Now, these are again Sandy Hook, racketeering roles and uses of Facebook and the Facebook pages of New Britain Superior Court for racketeering with child sex offenders, further associated with the principal sex offenders campus, further associated with racketeering acts, roles, and natures, a whole bunch of people associated with Wethersfield police chief's family, recorded, confessed, involved with them with racketeering acts, also with WFSB and with locations next to them, and with Fox Connecticut News with locations next to them. These are also people with military, foreign, and domestic involved with this horizontal and vertical database racketeering. This did a lot of bad to the north end of Hartford through time. I just remind with the same ones that are involved with where DeMoro's a whole bunch of places next to Hartford Hospital Institute of Living, whole bunch of men and women involved with the worst natures of crimes, with the overt criminal enterprises from various nations, undercover, recorded also, used for evidence racketeering, because then they have statutes that say they could do what they can't do because they're with their sequence shift racketeering together. Their identity thefts, identity fraud racketeering together. Their property thefts, fraud racketeering together. Crime methods recorded, confessed that Facebook uses, pretending not to believe and understand that and how they're involved with sequence shifts and with preventing crime acts and methods with child sex offenders. Uses of Facebook pages, interbranch, intercampuses are being used for identity theft racketeering. For evidence racketeering, they already did. So now they're racketeering with needing to hide lie progressions by offensively needing to pretend things perceived. And that's by what is right there facilitating that, because it did originally instill. This is an organized crime method recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, exploiting each age of campus simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, and then exploiting relationships and roles with that from off campuses. All told to devalue identities of the law and or forced to rightfully speak about their lack of integrity originally and still wrong. And then they pretend to be against that. Offensively sickly. We have all natures of organized crime associated with the people that try to study what problems. They're evident what they use for evidences. See, what is preventing mandated law is evidence. It's called an active organized crime method. It's called racketeering. So WFSB is pretending not to realize it, but by having already offensively pretended theater, because they were told to by their sources that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by them and by the Fox Connecticut News, coaching them to racketeering with child sex offenders, with untimely death cliques on and off campuses, uses of them with other racketeering uses of the campuses from off them. Criminal uses of a whole bunch of people from my town involved with Farmington Avenue with racketeering of medical, foreign, and domestic. A whole bunch of people associated with Robert Chevrolet, who is the lawyer of former director of the FBI. Recorded racketeering with them leading up to and in the Trade Center attack. leading up to and in a 2006 case with his co-defendants, involved with the same ones with my new and past neighbors, with this Dillon family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with judges, also crimes with kids and military. They already affected people to roles with this in the background. They have, a whole bunch of people with the DMV tied to a Perone family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering, identity theft, and evidence racketeering with Town Line Drive and with neighbors of his. Involved also with a whole bunch of names at CCSU that they involved with their predicate acts roles. A whole bunch of six natures of people associated with this, but people that are forging and switching names, like an Officer Hunter, involved with judges, various natures of courts, criminal uses of their courts, leading up to it in the trade center attack context, leading up to in the 2006 case, other cases, uses of their police forms and of military police, foreign and domestic, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved racketeering. Same people racketeering uses of those identity location, racketeering with uses of database racketeering when I was in high school. I don't even know people. I'm never going to see them. They're going to make one exception because they're going to call me to the office. I'm going to walk here. Someone's going to make a confession. They're going to make a loaded statement that is simultaneously confession about their roles with racketeering confessions and acts roles of a DeMoro family, of a Kerr family who didn't even go to my school, just for a little bit of time. I don't even know if he went to my middle school. I never saw him on the campus of the middle school. They have people walk up to you, pretend other. Then they use girls for that. And you don't even know their names. If you know the difference, if you know the name, you're not going to be able to tell them because of the nature of interaction that's fake. But it's also with the girls involved with racketeering. That's with police forms, but it's not real. It's not legal. It's with judges involved criminally, but it's not legal. It's with former and standing mayors involved, but it's not legal. And that's involved their need to hide roles with such per their roles with that sustained already on off the middle school, on off all different natures of schools, even intercities, involved with a Phil Cololo, a Fred Grisette is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with sources of WFSB. Also uses the children of people in collusion with the Wethersfield police chief's uses of his foreign and domestic family, and fake news crime acts clicks with overt criminal enterprises, recorded mail crimes with them, forging names, switching names, falsified police reports with them, spreading lies, attaching me to fake yelling, fake communications at all with women into databases. Whole bunch of people associated with this Leahy family involved racketeering confessions after they got out of school, about associated with the people they attached to roles with the interbranch faked, both faked at the court level and faked at the police form level, faked recorded things into databases through time. And they let certain kids talk in the background, and you're never going to see them. You're never going to get a response to offensive police report fabrications. These are people involved with racketeering with both of the speech teachers I had. I never had a conversation with them. Those are the people with the racketeering with the police forms in my area, involved further with the various natures of juxtaposed racketeering acts and natures of crimes with the kids. Now, there are also crime methods pretending people make conspiracy theories, and as the ones pretending they had conversations with me already into databases. Whole bunch of people in the Britain Superior Court tied to drug clicks with and as this Brendan Leahy involved with formal drug crimes with kids, with all each age of person, and involved with crimes with overt criminal enterprises, drugs, with a whole bunch of people in the Britain Superior Court also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of names, other natures of courts, their police forms, all tied to them, involved with racketeering acts, tied here, leading up to the trade center in it, confessions, whole bunch of racketeering tied to those confessions, not letting his shit told by forging names, switching names, interbranch, by having Trade Center originally instill roles with what you can't defend and tell American history, which is right to that spot about that. Can't defend what they say is theater and just only business at the theater level of movies making. Humor, what they say, what there were convictions by humor, their opinions, and play Hamilton. There are proofs that I don't know if they must have it on CD, but there are proofs that they might not have it on CD, and or it's restricted, not allowing music, because there are proofs that they're involved with this nature of criminal insidiousness, nature of positive, and theater uses of it. This is another vertical and horizontal organized crime racketeering method again that used and uses the people stacking of New York City and hurt the most by what is preventing mandated law, because we have already a whole bunch of police forms, foreign and domestic, and we have a whole bunch of natures of courts and on off their state offices and uses of everyone's family members for sensibility racketeering, blaming the real cause of negative value nature progressions, action, and natures on other. Having done this all, now needing to and effectively having pretending to perceive things offensively, simultaneously facilitated, set up for worse than entrapment, is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with Justice Department treatments of every fact, cheap nature value. Now we have to get someone to follow mandated law, get that from the forging names, switching names, faking conversations, and with overt, they have CIA and have FBI also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by this. See, this Leahy family faked conversations, me whole detailed conversations to me, and he'd use mail crimes. So we had a whole bunch of communications with me as a doctor who's involved with various natures of courts that could use to have the truth they use for truths and lies for facts for racketeering. They attach, they know they're criminally exploiting acceptations. They have been using Hartford Hospital for racketeering with a whole bunch of people with this Dillon family, with also with VA corruption, with Rocky Hill VA. Their roles with like on off these locations, this little street, Southstein Highway into Wethersfield Avenue, Franklin Avenue. Now we have a problem. These little three streets to Ridge Road. We have racketeering with a whole bunch of people associated with that corner of the Samuel Dix house, and that's demonstrated tied to people acting weird near that location that are involved with the racketeering acts, natures, and cliques. That also pretended this Leahy family that I said I pretended people were following me. And I said that, and these are people all tied to him with racketeering, with that corner and with the corner of Town Line Drive and Southstein Highway. Whole bunch of people involved with racketeering with them, leading up to winning the Trade Center attack context. Foreign and domestic military, Pakistan, Italy, state police, former director of the FBI, his co-defendants, the other natures of federal criminals, criminal uses of Confederate flag themed cliques, involved with the child sex offender campus, with the houses on the corners of it used for fact cheapy nature racketeering, identity thefts. I don't know them. Why should I have to explain what I know more? Get me a response. See, Renaissance. We have sick courts. We have sick identities of law. You'll see also how they're exploiting women and girls because we have women involved with sick men that need to highlight progressions with the women. So they hurt little girls and boys per their roles with this vertical and horizontal racketeering method recorded, effectively exploiting each identity of the ground, value treatment, of each of and as the value of each modern nation states and areas and sciences. Attend. Campus Marcius calls you home again. For real. Free speech. So these are offensively preventing me free speech. WFSB, Fox Connecticut News. That's way worse. It's way worse because they already have racketeering acts rolls with a whole bunch of other intercities. We have all identity as a law involved racketeering with databases. They're relying upon uses of that to defend themselves. Now, as raised, identity is a law, can't defend themselves, but criminally. So I'll trick fact cheating nature, self-valuing that, criminally foreign influence, use exploitations of it. So we have a whole bunch of people also with like a DeMoro family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that various nations that they involved police forms with a Corona's auto body, a Mike Corona. I never had a conversation with him. I was in his presence. So they could involve them with their roles with DACA per them. Now they're involved with them with identity thefts, identity racketeering. That's at the end of Weathersfield Avenue. There are also people associated with a Scalora family, with the racketeering, with the police forms, the prison cliques, in collusion with the overt criminal enterprises. Who knows this Scalora family associated with Hartford? It's the Morrow family, because they're also associated with a whole bunch of people with the Department of Transportation, fire departments, and Aiello family further involved with racketeering on off Trinity College with judges and with prosecutors and with the people overtly criminally involved with the uses of Facebook with that with child sex offenders as medical drug crime cliques and as also recorded confessed involved on off CCSU locations and crime acts roles racketeering with judges and with their prisons with a serial killer, real or made up, involve racketeering with a Phil Collo and with people associated with Wesleyan College and other criminal justice schools, other schools involved like with UConn with racketeering, physical delusions with psychology, racketeering roles with fact treatment nature quality, with their treatments of English, of predicate value, of predicate acts value. So they're racketeering roles with databases, with the law. See, this is not them alone, it's each campus, not them alone. They're also involved with all kinds of natures of private racketeering with Hartford Hospital, crime racketeering acts with them, uses of their roles with wire crimes, mail crimes, a whole bunch of people with a Hanson family and tied to the Hanson family with racketeering acts roles at Trinity College, uses of it, former director of the FBI down from his offices, and they had a sticky thing and make my hand feel like it itched too with their papers at the end with the big thick, because they're involved with racketeering acts that were further in roles with cases where they were using wire crime methods and affecting confessions to me so they could pretend to perceive things in conjunction with that, which is recorded because the evidence is there's a pattern of racketeering hiding what actually transpired because they were needing it to pretend to perceive other. This is also how they use time two ways, always too fast, too slow, with racketeering in courts tied to what can't defend itself and tell American history at the same time, originally and still. So there are a whole bunch of people who went through a grammar school that that went to a private school in Hartford near with associated with the church that are involved also with criminal uses of all the undercover and the police forms and the homeless and stuff like that, narratives together with on and off the locations downtown Hartford, on and off the locations New Haven, racketeering. These Yale never had, these are victim predator identities. We have to heal our campuses of law. They're racketeering, especially with psychology, especially medical campuses. This nature of racketeering is with all kinds of natures of databases tied racketeering, live aggressions from that. Offensive uses of roles with the live progressions from that originally instilled, like this, a Phil, Fred Grisey recorded and confessed and demonstrated was involved with racketeering acts with medical corruption cliques, with a Paul Abted. These are his family is involved with identity thefts. I never had one conversation without Paul Abted. He's involved with identity thefts and racketeering with people from private schools that were facilitated to racketeering acts rules with people that went to my school that I barely know, like this Paul Zano and his brother and sister and family associated. He has extended family members that are cousins, also recorded, confessed, involved with racketeering with on off Trinity College through time. Also with Olsen brothers, I barely know of. I I I, I don't even know if I would recognize them. And they're also recorded, confessed, involved with uses of Facebook by the judges with the child sex offender crime acts rules and with these prison cliques involved with all the same house slash S. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated crimes with retired and standing sick fire inspectors. See, we have people just to defend the identity of each branch and or of each service thing originally and still was where and how they're doing that blindly, but not honestly, is what all we see because the minority is keeping everyone thinking they're offensively having hit life progression. Already styles in relationship to nature's actual value progression of lives. You can't defend that and sustain our needs, but and sustain themselves formal, all private tied to them. So there were a whole bunch of people with names that nothing personal. I don't know them, but they were facilitated to the racketeering roles on off CCSU with the people further on off my grammar school and others grammar schools I didn't even go to. They're further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with those schools criminally, with databases, with their roles, with what they're maintaining bad things happening. But it's overt and it's overtly criminally, but it's simultaneously insidiously criminally. So when people say this, no one we have to we have to counter what's preventing mandated law. When police and when judges do things wrong, criminally, overtly sickly, with overt criminals and criminal enterprises and criminal uses of the other branches of government, we have to talk about the crime methods they're using afterwards to pretend not to realize. Right now, inherently, actively, and progressively, sequentially, they're involved with racketeering. Progressively, they're involved in the same thing. They're involved with identity racketeering, and that's sustained. Not one has trained. So we really sick people that are criminal enterprises. Also, because the undercover of all the different forms and together into a group, how they're using that for fact human nature racketeering with the overt criminal enterprises. See, they may be prosecuting them because they're involved with drugs. They may be prosecuting them because they're involved with illicit money or whatever they call it, types of things. But really, before that, they were involved with racketeering against these groups and areas, like with the mass shootings. As the ones involved with the racketeering with intercampuses in my town through time, with the ones further inherently actively and progressively and sequentially involved with positions on the campuses already originally and still criminally foreign influenced. And so uses of the identities of it, uses of the identities of what is with these hills, the Rocky Hills. From well, I'm talking about Wethersfield though, but these are the same people involved with the racketeering with Rocky Hill. And it's going to be worse if you guys keep waiting to fix the fake news. WFSB, please fix the fake news conversations you had with me and give up the people associated. Also, record. I never had a conversation with the former governor. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering also with a whole bunch of people associated with Facebook, racketeering with medical cliques, Whole bunch of doctors, foreign and domestic, nurses and stuff, racketeering roles with this Dillon family, with the judges. Let's get it done. Boxing is fun. One way alone.